Alrighty, guys. It is Easter night, literally 10:20 when I'm filming this. Happy Easter. I know you guys are watching this obviously on Monday. I hope you guys had an incredible Easter. So if I seem a little low energy, that is why. This ended up being filmed super last minute, which was not my plan. But Saturday was a very busy day. We ended up going to my mother-in-law's because she was prepping for Easter dinner. She was cleaning and prepping, and we ended up staying there till, I want to say, almost midnight. It was definitely past 11. She was crafting these really cute centerpieces. My mother-in-law loves to host. She's always been the hosting lady, from what Joe tells me, even like way back in the day when they were kids. Everyone would always like congregate at their house. And to me, I wish I took a picture. I had the really cutest like grass Easter bunny in the middle with flowers. So we were just there helping her. And then today for Easter, I had to go to, not had to, but I split my time. We did her house. Thank God she was starting way earlier than my mom. I think we were at her house for 12:30, and I woke up at 10. So I literally woke up at 10, did my hair, Joe ironed my dress, I threw on clothes. We went to her house from 12:30 to 5:30, and then we were at my mom's from 5:30 to like 8. So I had no time this weekend to myself. So this 5-day work week is gonna feel long, honestly. But I keep telling myself that I have vacation in 2 weeks. So I just got to get through 10 work days. So anyway, if I'm low energy, that is why. We are here to do the book club review for Fairy Tale. It got a little delayed last week. Charmaine has been super sick. She is actually pulling through to film this video because I had told her if she needs to postpone it again, that was A-okay. But she said she was going to pull through. So wish her well wishes. So we're just going to get started because I honestly need to finish this and go to bed. Number 1, the first half of the story sets up Charlie's family, Mr. Bowditch and his injury, Radar and the gold in Mr. Bowditch's safe, along other events before we enter Empis. Why does the author take longer to set up Charlie's normal world instead of entering straight into the magical one? In your opinion, does this setup help or hinder the story? So if you listen, whatever, to my video last week on Wednesday, it was a What's Up Wednesday, and I talked about what I read/listened to, because I do a lot of audiobooks. This was actually an audiobook for me, Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I listened to it on an audio app. But if you watch that video, I talked about how I kind of gave a sneak peek about how I felt about this book, and I said how I rated it 2 stars, and I feel like that is going to break some people's hearts. It might break Charmaine's heart, but I said that there was parts of the book I absolutely love. So it's not that I think Stephen King is a bad writer. This is actually my first Stephen King novel, and the parts of the book that I loved was the setup of the story. I loved Mr. Bowditch's character. I loved how he was grumpy. Kind of reminds me of romance books, because you guys know I'm a big romance reader. When it's like Grumpy versus Sunshine, and it's like usually not always the male character is like the grumpy character, the female is the sunshine character. It literally reminded me of that, just like without the romance. Like Charlie was the sunshine, Mr. Bowditch was grumpy. Charlie was pulling through, ignoring his grumpy attitude and taking care of him. And I really loved it. It kind of reminded me of like a grandfather with his grandson. Like Mr. Bowditch had no family, and I love that Charlie like took him under his wing. Not really under his wing, I think that sounds wrong, but he took care of him. He respected him. He fell in love with his dog. That was the part of the story that I absolutely loved. When Charmaine asked me like, oh, have you started the book? Are you liking it? We don't usually go into too much detail because we want to watch each other's video, but she knew I had never done Stephen King. I don't read that much fantasy. I have been wanting to dip my toes into it. I read Fourth Wing and I loved it. And I told her, oh, I'm actually really, really liking it. And it was because of the setup in the beginning was not fantasy, and that's why I think I loved it. When it came to the fantasy stuff, I honestly did not enjoy it as much. That is being straightforward and honest. So for me, it definitely helped the story. It was actually my favorite part of the story. Some of you guys might feel total opposite way and wanted to like fast forward and get to the good stuff, quote unquote, whatever, what's good stuff to you. I'll get more into why I think I didn't enjoy the story as much, because I do like fantasy. I read Fourth Wing, but that just answers number 1. I think it definitely helped the story. Number 2, Charlie travels to Empis to journey to the magical city and use the sundial's life-altering effects to save Radar. Why does he take that risk, knowing Mr. Bowditch's history, the dangers within the world, and after it's meeting its people? And I think it's because he loves Radar. I think it's hard to understand unless you have a pet. And even some people, here she is. Even some people have pets and they're just not that attached to them. But Smokey, this is Smokey. I got her in 2020. And I literally think of her as my daughter. And I literally think of Mango as my son. And that might bother people who have kids. And I apologize for well, I shouldn't apologize. It's how I feel. Smokey, I feel like I'm about to tear up. But I got Smokey in May of 2020. And I went through a very difficult time. I lost a really, really, really good friend to COVID during that time. And Joe was an essential worker. And he was working 12 plus hours a day. And I was home alone all by myself. I wasn't able to see any family, any friends. It was a really scary time. And I sometimes wonder if I would have survived it without Smokey. They literally train like cats and dogs to be social, emotional support animals. Seeing guide dogs. There's dogs that can... Animals are incredible. There's dogs that can tell if a person's blood sugar dropped, and they will literally bring them juice, like to diabetics. That's a new one. I didn't even know that. I learned about that recently, to up their sugar. It's crazy how they're able to tell someone's body chemistry like that. There are dogs that can tell if someone's about to have a seizure, and they're able to protect that person. They warn them to like sit down so that way they don't hit their head when they fall. They're not going to stop the seizure, of course, but they're able to give some forewarning. I do believe animals are incredible. I absolutely love my cats. Me and Joe treat them like our children. And I will say my mom has kids. Obviously, I'm her daughter. And when we lost my childhood dog, Nico, my mom cried so hard. And she said, that was so hard. I can't imagine losing one of you guys. She said, I don't think I would be on this earth if I lost one of you guys, because losing Nico was the closest thing to losing a child to her. She loved that dog. She got a tattoo in honor of him. And this is someone who is a mother to human kids, So I think it depends, because I know people who have animals, and of course they don't wish them any harm, but they're not super attached to them either. But if you are an animal person, you totally get... You see them getting old, and you see them getting frail, and you just want to take care of them. So I could definitely see myself, if I was in Charlie's shoes, getting my dog or my cat on that sundial to turn back the clock so they can live even longer. And it's a really, I was going to say selfless thing, but I guess it really isn't, because you want to keep them around for you. But it's not like he's putting himself on the sundial, He just didn't want the dog to leave yet. He wanted to still... It's sad because animals' lives are so short. Most dogs live 15 years, most cats up to 20, and it's just like a speck in our lives. I wish they lived as long as we did. I really do. So that is definitely why he did that. He knew it was dangerous, but he loved Radar, and he wanted Radar in his life still. And he knew Mr. Bowditch would have wanted the same thing, I believe. Number 3, how does Mr. Bowditch's statement, "A brave man helps, a coward just gives presence," reflect the central theme of courage, selflessness, and sacrifice in Fairy Tale? In what ways does this quote resonate throughout the novel, and what does it reveal about the character's motivation and values? And look, that word selflessness is right in there. So I guess it depends on if you think that was a selfless act or not. I know I've seen theories before. I think they talked about this in an episode of Friends, if I remember correctly, where there's no such thing as a selfless act, because even if you donate money or whatever, you donate services or whatever it is, you get a good feeling. So they say that good feeling makes it a selfish act. And I remember Phoebe let a bee sting her, and she's like, that's a selfless act because that caused me pain and I still allowed the bee to sting me. And then I think it was Chandler told her, the bee's gonna die now, right? Because bees die after they sting humans, because our blood ends up in their stinger or whatever and kills them. She did not know that. I think she started crying because she's actually like vegetarian. But I do believe there is selfless acts. I see things all the time on social media. I'm sure you guys do too, with TikTok and Instagram. I saw one just the other day where someone gave like $1,000 tip. They filled out like $1,000, and someone put, "Why did you feel the need to film this? Like, this is just you trying to get views or for people to know that you're nice. Like, you should do it because you want to do it, not because you need to film yourself doing it." But I do believe people perform selfless acts every day. I used to see it. I tell you guys all the time, I worked at a family-run grocery store. It wasn't a Walmart, it wasn't a Target, it wasn't a Stop and Shop or a Market Basket or a, I don't know, whatever other grocery store you can chain you can think of. Were they well off? Yes, they had an incredible business. They employed 30 people. They did very well. The store was always busy. I was always tired. Were they trillionaires like the person who owns Walmart or Amazon? No. And they gave every chance they got. Every time there was an event in the city, they donated something. Anytime someone went in and asked for help or for like for raffles, like, you know, if they asked for even just a gift card or a basket, the owners would be making a basket for them or give a gift card. Even me, like I did Relay for Life, which is a walk I used to do every year. And the money all goes towards cancer research. I haven't done it in a few years, but because I've just been so busy. But they always donated to me. Not only did they donate to me, they would allow me to have a table in front of the store and can. On top of that, I would see single moms go in there and they would be buying like milk and cereal and cheese, whatever, groceries. And they would be short. And the owners would say all the time, it's all set. Don't worry about it. And even like me, they would allow me to be short in my drawer. Of course, I had to ask permission, but they would be like, okay, Taylor, write a note. Say, I'll be short $1.30 or I'll be short $5, whatever. And they were totally fine with that. There were some times where people would come back and give the money later. So I do believe that there are a lot of selfish people out there, sadly. I feel like that's been even worse since post 2020, post the C word. But I do feel like there are definitely a lot of selfless people out there, and that definitely resonated in this book. You know, even just him going there and doing what he did for Radar, and he went into this land and he did not take the gold. That already shows something, because that gold could change his life. It could make him rich. It could do so many things, and he didn't do that. The whole time he was there, he wanted to go back, not even for himself, for his dad. He kept saying like, oh my God, my dad, what if my dad's drinking again? What if I can't believe I left him and he doesn't even like know what happened to me? Like, he kept just thinking about his father, not even about himself. And he kept thinking about the people in Empis with him, the people that were suffering. So it's definitely, that quote definitely resonated throughout the entire novel. He was so brave. He was so courageous. He made a lot of sacrifices. You know that if you've read the book. So yeah, I think that quote was very, very prominent in the story. Number 4, Charlie's relationship with Radar, Mr. Bowditch's dog, is a central aspect of the novel. What does the dog represent, and how does she help Charlie in his journey? So even right before he gets caught by, I forget what they were, he tells Radar, run. And I think Radar like pauses and he's like, no, Radar, run. Because he didn't want this all to be for nothing. So at least if Radar got out, it made him feel better. And he thought about Radar while he was in the jail cell. And he was like, I hope Radar finds, I forgot what those people's names were. I finished this like over a week ago. I should have filmed it sooner, but it is what it is. I think Radar just shows how much you can love somebody else, and not even like a person, how much you can love an animal. Like, it really, and then, so I think that's what the dog just represents, like that love for Charlie. You know, he really loves his dad. You can sense that. Does he have problems with his dad because of his dad's past drinking problem? Yes. I think Radar, it just shows like pure love. And she definitely helps him in his journey, because he like, he even like quit the baseball team or the football team, and it was almost like an excuse, because you could tell he really wasn't into it anyway. He just did it because he felt like he had to do it, or like it was what was expected of him. And by having Radar, he had someone to take care of. So it gave him an excuse to live a more authentic life, in my opinion, to not be the jock or the popular guy and just kind of do what he pleased. Number 5, did you recognize other fairy tales throughout the book? What was your favorite? There was other fairy tales? There probably was. Nothing is coming to me right now. I remember thinking one of them reminded me of something, but I really had a hard time connecting once he got into Empis, to be honest with you guys. Especially because it was an audiobook. I found myself fading out and in and fading out and in. which is not good with an audiobook because you miss a lot of details. And I do really well with audiobooks. So people ask me all the time, like, oh, I don't know how you listen to audiobooks. I feel like I wouldn't be in it. Like, I would just start getting distracted. And I tell them all the time, if I like a book, trust me, I am not getting distracted. I am really thinking about it. And I've done many audiobooks since Charmaine has shared her app with me last year. But this book was the first one I found myself, not the first one I should say, because I remember what was it? The Guest List, a book we read last year. I found myself fading in and out. Library of the Dead, I almost DNF'd it because I found myself fading in and out. But yeah, this one I really found myself fading out when it came to the fantasy part of the book. Which I guess we can get into a little bit. So I looked up, it was really bothering me. And I said, I want to know why I don't like this book. Like, I want to have an explanation for them, because I do enjoy fantasy. I loved Twilight when I was growing up. I loved The Hunger Games and Divergent, and I read a series, it was called The Uglies. It was like my favorite one. I think it's by Scott Patterson, if I remember correctly, back in high school. They were like sci-fi novels. They were my favorite. It was like dystopian worlds, and I loved them. And I love Harry Potter. So I'm like, I can't say I don't like fantasy, but for some reason, for some books, I really do struggle. So when I looked into it, I found the term, and I think it works perfectly for me. And the term was magic realism. And I looked it up, and I talked about it on my What's Up Wednesday. And let me get the exact definition. But basically, magic realism is when it like connects to the real world. And I think connecting to the real world, I need to be into the story, to be invested into the story. I know, like Charmaine says all the time, she loves fantasy because she doesn't want to read about people paying their bills or working their 9 to 5, because she does that already. So she doesn't need to read about it. Where I'm the opposite. I need that because I need to connect. And if I don't connect to something, I'm going to zone out. So it even says magic realism is a genre of literature that depicts the real world as having an undercurrent of magic or fantasy. That is what I need. I need a real world with an undercurrent of magic or fantasy. And Fourth Wing had that. In my opinion, anyway. Twilight has that. You know, they're all humans, and it's just vampires hiding, not beyond wanting to be found. Harry Potter, same thing. He didn't even know he was a wizard until he was like 13. Even with Fourth Wing, it's like they all live, it kind of reminds me of like a boarding school. Like Harry Potter is like a boarding school. I'm able to connect to that. So Fairy Tale has no magic realism, in my opinion. The first, I don't know how many pages it was, but the build up, as they were saying, yeah, it says right here, the world is grounded in the real world, but has fantastical elements and are considered normal in this world. But anyway, like I was saying, the beginning, when I said it helped set up the story, the part with Mr. Bowditch, that is just the real world. And then boom, it was a super duper fake world, in my opinion. It's just too unrealistic. He's going to have a hole in his shed that leads to this whole magical world. I can't connect to that. So I'm sorry if that makes anybody angry, but it's truly how I feel. If there's anyone else out there like me, please let me know. But that's why I kind of tuned in and out during that time, and I can't answer number 5. Truly, I feel like something is on the tip of my tongue, especially the guy that oh my god, I can't even think of his name. The one that had like the weird voice that he found and broke his hands. Not that one, because that was like in the real world. But when he went into the fantasy world, and even said that guy reminded him of that kind of gave me like vibes of something else. But it just wouldn't click in my mind, because I just like I said, I was kind of tuning in and out, if I'm being honest with you. It took me almost the whole month of March to read this book. It took me over 3 weeks. And that's because I really had a hard time with it. Hence why I labeled it 4 stars. I mean 2 stars, not labeled it. Like, I rated it 2 stars. By the end of the novel, how has Charlie grown as a person? Why does he feel the need to tell his story to the reader? And how does he use experience to grow personally and professionally? I'm trying to think. I know the end of the novel goes into like the future. Like, he talks about how long, I think Radar lasted another 9 years. And he talks about his career. I already forgot what he was. That's why I like to do these when it's fresh in my mind. I know he seals the other world. I remember that they poured like concrete, they put like a metal sheet and they poured concrete. Basically because he never wanted, and he does say he went in one more time with his dad because he wanted his dad to see the real world. And I think his dad is the only reason I finished that book. If not, I probably would have DNF'd it and texted him and said, hey, I'm really sorry. I'm just not feeling it. But I kept wanting him to go back home. I kept wanting him to see what his dad was going to say. And it was kind of unfortunate because you really don't see that much. Like, I was like, I kept waiting. I had like 2 hours left in the book and I'm like, he has to get home soon, right? And then it's hitting 1 hour and I'm like, oh my God, he has to get home soon, right? It wasn't until like the last 20 minutes of the story, which was kind of disappointing for me because I was just dying for him to get back into the real world because I did not enjoy Empis. I was going to say, he does tell his dad, and that was something I was wondering. I'm like, is he going to lie? Is he going to tell his dad that he got hurt in Chicago, was in the hospital, had no way of contacting him? I was curious, but he did end up telling his dad the truth. So his dad went into the world one time with him, if I'm remembering this correctly. And then, like I said, he pours the concrete. So I definitely, that is like the end of the novel. He definitely, I can't remember what his career was, but you can tell he just became a very like responsible adult. I mean, the fact that he even did that is because he loves one of the characters. I don't even, was it Leia? No, not Leia. I'm thinking of Star Wars. I can't remember her name right now. Leia, something like that. And he even said by sealing that, he knew he would never see her again. So it really showed how selfless he was as a person. How much he really, like, put others before himself. Well, I guess that's the definition of selfless. But it really shows how he kind of, like, grew as a person. I think already his relationship with Bowditch, he was already growing as a person. Instead of thinking about himself, he was taking care of somebody else. And I think that, even back in the day, he kind of took care of his father. That happens a lot when you're a child of like some kind of abuse. I mean, he wasn't abused by his father, but he did have to deal with a dad not really being there, with a dad that's checked out. Thank God his dad turned it around. But I think that does happen. They learn to be caretakers and they grow up very fast. And that definitely didn't change. I think he was the person he was like always basically meant to be. I think it really opened his eyes. All right. And the last one, what was your favorite part of the book and least favorite? You guys know my favorite part of the book was the beginning. I loved the building of the story with Mr. Bowditch. I wish he had lived longer. I kind of expected the book to be very different. I expected Mr. Bowditch to actually tell him everything about the land. I didn't expect it to just be a recording. I kind of thought, which I think I would have really maybe liked more, but it is what it is. Obviously, I'm not Stephen King, and he's an amazing writer. He gets people, he's rich, so he doesn't need me to criticize him. Clearly, he knows what he's doing. His books turn into movies. I mean, he's friggin' Stephen King. But I thought it was going to be more like Mr. Bowditch just telling him about the land in one chapter. And then in another chapter, he was going to be in the land. I thought it was going to go more like back and forth. I love like dual point of views and dual timelines. And I think that might have captured my attention a little bit more. If it had been real world, fantasy world, real world, fantasy. And instead it was like, real world, which I wish I remember. I know it was a good chunk of the book. I don't have pages because I don't have the physical book, but it was like a 16-hour book, and I want to say the first like 4 hours was the real world, and I really loved it. And then it was the fake world for like 12 hours, and I was not a fan. So that's my favorite, and that's my least favorite. And then if we get down to it, it's the cast of characters. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't really imagine the characters because I kept tuning in and out. This is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to be 100 straight up honest with you guys, and I'll tell you the 3 characters I imagined. They're not even actors. It's so weird how I think of like cartoons sometimes. I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but for some reason Charlie's dad, I kept imagining him as the father in the Powerpuff Girls. Just like looking at me. And then is there an old man in the Cowardly Lion? Not the Cowardly Lion, the Cowardly Dog.
Courage.
Courage the Dog, is that what it is? Is there an old man in that cartoon?
Eustace.
I think that's who I was imagining for Mr. Bowditch. I'd have to Google it. Honestly, I'm going to be straightforward and honest with you guys. It is like 10:45 at night. I still got to edit this. I just want to go to bed. And then, of course, Charlie, he was always just kind of an obscure vision in my head. I don't know. I can't even, Christopher Polly, I didn't even think of him as a person. He was just kind of this like deformed goblin. And that's it. She Charmaine's the one that usually comes up with the questions for like 99% of the books. I think I've done like 2 of the books. And it's Charlie Reed, Mr. Bowditch, Charlie's dad, and Christopher Polly. You know who, let me think. The only one I can think of like right off the top of my head, Mr. Bowditch probably would have been really good played by, oh my god, I can't think of his real name right now, but the guy from Back to the Future. The old man. The one that invents the DeLorean. Charlie Reed would have been really good for young, oh my god, what's his name? The boy in Back to the Future. Oh my god, I love him, and his name is not coming to me. This is what happens when it's 10:45 at night and I'm dying to go to bed. Oh my god, he has Parkinson's. He was a doctor in Scrubs. I was so happy when he showed up in Scrubs. That was like my favorite show back in the day. Something Fox, right? It's not Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is the... Oh my gosh, this is really gonna bother me. Hold on. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna end it there. Like I said, I need to go to bed. Let me hit back to the... Of course, that won't even work now because he's too old. That's the problem. I always just imagine one... Oh, Michael Fox. There you go. Michael Fox and Christopher Lloyd. I used to know their names. I don't... It's late. I need to go to bed. But yeah. And then the father, it would have been funny if the father had been played the guy who plays Biff Tannen in all the movies, Thomas F. Wilson. I do that a lot. I just start imagining like all characters from the same show or the same movie. I feel like I never do good with casting the characters, especially when it's 10:45 at night. But yes, that is what I thought of Fairy Tale. Please don't hate me. I just need a little magic realism with my fantasy. At least I figured it out. Just like even I used to say, oh, I love romance. But now I can be more specific. Oh, I love small town romance. Oh, I love friend to lover romance. Oh, I love, I don't like all enemies to lovers. It depends how well it's written. I love, second chance romance. I'm trying to think of like other examples that just are not coming to me right now. But now that I'm like reading more the past 2 years, I know what I like and what I don't like better. Instead of just being so broad and saying romance, I like certain tropes of romance. I can tell you, like, I don't like age gap. I don't like miscommunication tropes. So with fantasy, I haven't dipped my toes that much, but I can tell you, I need some magic realism for me to connect to it. Without that, I zone right out, just like I did with Fairy Tale. If you loved it, I'm happy for you. I hope you enjoyed this month of reading for our book club. Next week, I will be, me and Charmaine will be announcing what we'll be reading for April. The tab is over on my community, the voting polls are over on my community tab. We're going to close that really, really soon. I'll put it as a pinned comment. I'll text Charmaine in the morning, because I know it depends on when she can film. Hopefully she's feeling better. Like I said, wish her well wishes. Go watch her video. I believe she probably loved Fairy Tale. I know she loves fantasy. I'm curious if she loves all fantasy or if there's certain tropes of fantasy that she likes, because I definitely discovered what I like and don't like, which is great. That's something you learn as you get older. You really learn to learn what you love and don't love in men, in relationships, in jobs, in reading, in everything. I'll end it at that. I hope you guys had an amazing Easter. I hope you have an amazing week. Happy Monday. Like I said, don't attack me, but just let me know down below if you liked it, you agree with me, disagree with me, if you want to answer any of the questions. You're seeing this on a Monday. Tuesdays and Thursdays are my unboxings and hauls. Wednesday is What's Up Wednesday. I can be a little more creative. It's different every week. Friday's a vlog. Saturday's my outfits of the week. Sunday, I usually take off, but this Sunday I actually did post a Target haul. So if you guys didn't see that, you can just go back. It'll be my most recent video. It didn't get too many views because it was Easter, which was kind of sad because it was really fun to film. You guys know I love fashion videos. I checked out the Diane von Furstenberg collection because Target does collabs, and I was so happy that it was a designer that was actually doing plus. So I was excited to participate in that. There were some hits, there were some misses. So definitely consider checking it out. But that is my schedule. I do post at least 6 days a week, if not 7. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps the YouTube algorithm. It'll help get book club out there. We also have a book club Facebook group. I'll be linking down below. Me and Charmaine, also, we'll talk about it more next week, but me and Charmaine have created a book club in a Fable app. So it's called Fable. It allows for chat rooms. So as we read, we can chat with each other, and there's no spoilers, because basically you can make like a chat room for chapter 1, or I could do a chat room for chapter 1 to 3. You know what I mean? And then this way, as you read, if you guys want to talk about it on the spot versus waiting for this book, waiting for a certain video or waiting for the book to be done, we can talk about it. And then you would just click the specific chat room you want so you don't get spoilers. So consider downloading that. It's free. We would never do an app that costs money. So I will link it down below. And like I said, we'll talk about it more next week. But if you guys want to already download it, you can definitely do that. Check out our Facebook group, because we do have a Facebook group as well. That'll be linked down below. Charmaine is linked down below. Please go check her out. And like I said, share the video. It really helps get our book club up into the YouTube algorithm, YouTube universe, whatever you want to call it. And be safe, guys.